Welcome everyone. Thursday night, 7 o'clock. Garnet and Old, no inside info, no contacts. Vince, it's never a problem. How are you doing tonight?
It's never a problem, Ryan. It's good to see you, my friend. I know, we say this every week. I know you've been getting hammered at work. I had quite the past weekend. For any of you that are in the honey-do realm, I had a massive honey-do item that has been on the list, Ryan, for the last 8 years, maybe. So no one can accuse me of being speedy, but I spent Saturday and Sunday about 12, 13-hour days painting the inside of my house.
That sounds just amazing.
So, hey, let's hear it. Let's hear it for the honey-do people, right? No, regardless of how long it takes you to get to those items, right? Let's hear it for the boys.
And before we get started, real quick, I just want to say, if you're watching live here on YouTube, make sure you are subscribed and that you are liked and you set your reminders to the Garnet Old Show. And for all the members out there who are already a YouTube member of the Garnet Old Show, thank you so much. Happy you're with us. Vince and I probably this weekend need to do a second show on Sunday night for our members only. And you can become a member by hitting the join button on YouTube and picking your membership level. You get extra videos, all kinds of perks. Join us at the Garnet Old family. But Vince, in honor of House of the Dragon week, Vince.
Yeah, I think we need to switch gears a little bit, right?
I want to hereby proclaim you, Vince Ciccarelli, follower of football, painter of walls, first of his name, all that stuff. So, Vince, are you excited? Are you ready? Because you haven't watched any more Lost, but you were catching up on House of the Dragon Season 1 in preparation for Season 2. Now, is this your first time watching it or second?
No. This is the second time. I watched it when it was running, right? And enjoyed it thoroughly. One thing you will not call me is master of coin.
Yeah.
I am the loser of coin. I am the spender of coin. I am not the master of coin. But yeah, I've been catching up with it. I think I'm on the 4th episode so far. So the intent, Ryan, is to be, to have rewatched the whole first season by the time Sunday rolls around. And if you're not a Game of Thrones fan for whatever reason,
I'm sorry.
Maybe you've never watched it. Maybe you got into it and then you were soured by the last season or two, which I understand a lot of people were. But I think we've talked about this in the past, Ryan. Like when I commit to something, I'm going to finish it. And so I finished, and I was perfectly okay with the way that went down. But I've been really excited about the spinoffs. And so when House of the Dragon came about, I was super excited about that. And it was really good. What are your thoughts on it, Ryan? I mean, we could talk specifically about it, but did you enjoy it?
Yes, without getting into spoilers, because of those of you that maybe are watching for the first time in preparation for the upcoming season, I liked House of the Dragon Season 1 as much as I liked the first 4 seasons of Game of Thrones, which is high praise for me. I think the acting was top tier. The first time I watched it twice, Vince. The first time I watched Season 1, I was a little thrown off by there is let's say a time jump with different actors in the show. And it was a little jarring the first time, but upon second watch through, now that you're ready for it and kind of expecting it, it's not as jarring. But what I do appreciate, Vince, and this is nothing against, I love Game of Thrones. I've watched Game of Thrones like 6 times over. I love it. But I feel like sometimes, not every time, but sometimes in Game of Thrones, they might have been having intercourse for intercourse sake. There's one scene involving Littlefinger in Game of Thrones that comes to mind specifically that seemed unnecessary to the story. But what I appreciate about House of the Dragon is it's still very adult. It definitely is. But it seems like everything is to serve the story, Vince. And that's what I appreciated a lot. So I'm excited about season 2. I think the actors are like top tier Game of Thrones. And for anyone questioning or thinking, what did Vince mean by, once he gets on something, he finishes it. Vince and I both finished The Walking Dead. And that was not always easy, but we did it. We did it, Vince.
Yeah, we did do it because there's a lot of time invested in that, and you want to see kind of how it all plays out. And there's been a lot of time invested in the baseball program, and we want to see how that plays out. And we're going to talk about that tonight.
Absolutely.
But let's welcome. I think we've given enough time for some folks to get in here. Let's welcome some people.
Let's shout out a couple members. MN Seminoles, as always. Hey, Scott, we have it in parentheses now, so I'm going to call you Scott.
Oh, that's right.
Scott, hello. Thank you for being a member of the Garnet Old show. Ed, great to see you. You're a better man than me, Vince. I'm assuming he's referencing finishing Game of Thrones.
Finishing. Or probably more than likely Walking Dead. Because that one, there were some seasons that were a real slog. But I it doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things whether I finish that series or not. But me internally, I feel like I followed through on my commitment. Oh, painting is what he's talking about.
Oh, Nick Snyder, as always. Nick Snyder, who sat with us during the spring game.
He did, and brought us some hot dogs, by the way.
Brought us hot dogs on the show, which was so much fun. Thanks for coming in. Of course, Chris Johnson.
Welcome, Chris.
And for those of you who are not aware, Spear Addicts, who's a friend of the show, Chris, is going to be going live at 8 o'clock tonight. So head over to their channel right after the Garnet Old show and continue. And Vince, I want to say something. Much like Game of Thrones, where chaos is a ladder.
Chaos is a ladder, yeah.
Baseball is chaos, and it's definitely a ladder for Florida State because, Vince, we're going to Omaha. After, let's see, 5 years, first appearance since 2019, I believe. Florida State is headed back to Omaha. Vince, it's their 24th time going. So it's been a while since we've been, but we were so used to going for so long. And I think what we're about to show with Link Jarrett kind of says it all, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, I mean, we have to play this, right? Because this makes me, like they say, it makes me want to run through a wall.
Now I want to win it for him. Like, why as a player couldn't I get it done? It keeps me up. Like, what did I not do? What were we not doing that kept us from that? And part of the reason the 5 program pieces, I was so determined to figure out myself what I needed to do to get it done here. Did I ever think I'd be sitting here coaching it? No, you don't think that that's going to happen. You don't. But I owe it to the program, him, to figure out how to finish it. So that's the messaging. Our guys were thrilled. Like, we're sitting there in the room, and I told them, when we walk out of this room and you get on that plane, there's 400 people standing along sides of the bus. You're going to walk through that, and this will never be the same. Like, it's never. So when we get up and leave, like, you're going to feel differently the moment you open that locker room door and off you go, and here it starts. But in that corner, in the cabinet trophy case there's something missing. So I'm not happy to walk out through the people. That probably doesn't come off right. I'm happy to walk through to come where we are trying to take that bus and that plane, but I'm not happy with the result that I've had. So what do we do when we walk out of that room to enjoy those moments, but try to make sure that the result for us is just a little bit better and gets us that final trophy that is not sitting in that cabinet over there? So that's what all of that means to me and what I need to accomplish here to really feel like I've completed this.
And Vince, that conversation comes off of Tibbs' 3 home runs. Of course, the dramatic 10-8 win in 12 innings, Vince, and really capping off a 47-win season, which was pretty good, very good. In fact, we've had so much success here at Florida State when it comes to baseball, but there is that one missing piece, which is so many college World Series appearances without the trophy, without the end goal. And what I appreciate it, much like Mike Norvell, he is embracing the challenge and speaking it out loud. We've had some coaches here in the past that it's football specifically that have been more like, we'll talk about that later. We'll talk about that later. Well, this is the expectation at Florida State, so we might as well embrace it. And that's what I took away from it. Vince, you're muted because you were doing the audio from the.
Sorry, it's like if you don't talk about it, that people don't think it's out there.
Yeah,
it is out there, and so you're not doing anybody any favors. You're not making it easier on yourself or your team by not talking about it. I think it's the better thing to say, you know what, this is a real thing. Like, it doesn't, in my eyes as a fan, it doesn't diminish, the legacy and the history and the proud program that we are. It doesn't diminish that, but it is something that's missing. And the fact that he just outrightly says it is kind of refreshing, right? Because a lot of coaches, like you say, they don't want to talk about end results.
Yeah.
That's kind of like the end thing. I don't want to talk about end results. I just want to talk about, what we're going to do at 7 a.m. and then what we're going to do at 7:01 a.m. and 7:02 a.m. And then if we do all those things, then, the end of the day, we'll look back on it and we hopefully will have accomplished the thing that we wanted to. But this is a different way to look at it. And because he was a player, right, and a great player, and because he's lived through it, he already owns it. Like, he said that in there. Like, why didn't it work out for us when I was a player? What is it that we were missing? So I appreciate that. And like I said, there's no, you can't hide from it. And whether this, there's a message in here from Chris Johnson. There's a comment about it. OMAHA is exactly right. I believe something special is going to happen for the Noles in Omaha. Go Noles. I don't know if that's true or not, but it sure feels that way. Like, it sure feels like if they have any kind of pressure or trepidation, that the way Link talks about it kind of almost alleviates that. They're already playing with house money in terms of the fan base, as far as I'm concerned. You're always going to have, the rank and file fan that just kind of tune in at the last minute. They're going to complain if it doesn't turn out the way we want it to, right? But the turnaround from last year to this year, doubling the wins, getting over the 40 win mark, not losing a game in the postseason thus far. They have to win 5 more games.
Yeah. All this coming off of a 23 and 31 season last year.
Right. Provided they don't lose anything. And that's why tomorrow is so critical. When they play Tennessee tomorrow evening at 7 p.m., Jamie Arnold is going to pitch. When they play them tomorrow night, and Tennessee is, probably the best offense in the country, you think Florida State hits a lot of bombs, right? Tennessee, I mean, that's what they do. But if they start off on the right foot tomorrow night, it's going to be tough to overcome them. It's a gritty team.
I agree. I totally agree with Grill Master sentiment here. I think we'd all cry if FSU baseball won a natty. I'd be right there with you, my man.
Yeah, it's been like something that's been in the back on the back of our minds for so long. It's almost kind of hard to envision it happening because it hasn't, right?
Yeah.
And I liken it to when Bobby first won his title. Like, we always knew we were in the hunt, and we always knew something someday would happen and it would work out. That's the feeling we had.
Right.
But until it did, it almost felt like there was always going to be a hurdle that we couldn't get over.
Yeah, and going back to the owning the whole situation, it's almost like a therapy session tool. Like you want to name the thing that you're most afraid of, or the thing that you're stressed or anxious about. You want to name it. That way you can start conquering it, start to confront it. And that's what I feel like that was. Vince was him naming the obvious, because people are already going to think it. It's not like by him saying it, it brought up some feelings that people didn't already had internally. So I really appreciate the honesty it took to just go ahead and own it out the gate.
Yeah, the other part of that, I think, is, a lot of the pressure comes from the media, right? Because that's what, they know that is a lingering thing for this team, for the program. And what he did there is what a lot of, marketing people, press people will tell you, is like, get ahead of it, and then you control it. You control the narrative. You control the types of questions you get asked then, because
Yeah.
you have started the conversation and directed it in a way that you want it to go. And I think that is a very heady thing for him to do, right?
Right.
Because he knows the team. Most of the guys, I think maybe none of the guys have ever been there, right? It's been too long.
Right.
And so it's going to be overwhelming already. Adding the press questions and the press kind of undercurrents on top of that would not be good for this team. So he's just like, here we go. We're going to talk about it and we're going to get it
Right.
out there.
And it's going to be a tough matchup coming up, and
Sure.
we might not win it. Despite everyone, I feel good. Vince feels good. Everyone feels good. We're excited about the team. But guess what? The good thing that we should all be happy about is that, from last place in the ACC last year to where we're at right now. So there's plenty of time. Link's a young man still. We got a lot of time to grow. So even if we don't win it, which I sincerely hope we do, but I wouldn't at all be disappointed just because of how quick the turnaround was. It almost feels like similar to this past season with, I would say 2 seasons ago with Norvell going to 10 wins. It's like, why would I be upset that we lost 3 games? This is a huge improvement from the previous, years.
Right.
So it's the same kind of feeling where I'm happy to be here again. That's where I'm at right now. Of course, I want to win it all, but I think we should always prepare ourselves for both.
Yeah, and there's some good comments there. The one from Steven is exactly right. Notice how his response killed all the questions because of how powerful. That's exactly what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah.
from that point on, he owned the narrative about the missing item in the trophy case. We own that now. And baseball, anything can happen, Nick. Right? And we've had teams that were the odds-on favorite to win it all, but because of weirdness, it didn't happen. And so then there's a thought, well, maybe a team that you least likely would think would win it all would, and you never know when it's going to happen. So just happy we're there and have the opportunity. I'm happy that the team is gritty and they can hit, man. They can score runs, and we may have just enough pitching.
Yeah, and Steven, how do you follow it with that, after that kind of response? It's what I always say about really any of these coaches that we listen to and hear press conference from, Vince. The real ones that get real with reporters generally get asked the least tough questions because they're just kind of being who they are. All the guys who kind of try to give the PR message or just coach speak tend to get a lot harder questions because all the reporters in the room are trying to do, Vince, is get a good story to write.
Right.
And when you have coaches that are saying, it's all about, it being in the moment and, taking care of what you do today. And it's just kind of the same thing that they've heard a million times. It's not an engaging story for the next day when they have to go put that in a newspaper or website. So what they're hoping for by asking direct or sometimes inflammatory questions is to get some kind of headline to get a click so they can, drive ads to their paper and things like that. So when
Right.
you give them that up front and be real, generally they don't have any more questions because they have what they need to write their whole story.
Yeah, imagine, imagine you're making the press's job a little easier.
Yeah.
That garners you some goodwill, right? So, and he did. He made their job easy that day,
Mm-hmm.
and that goes a long way, in my opinion. Ryan, where are you going to watch the game tomorrow night?
Oh, so this is interesting. Yeah, good question. So Vince, my company that I work for, it was my turn as a manager at the company. We rotate what managers plan the quarterly team events. So
Hmm.
tomorrow was my event. And so tomorrow from 6:30 to 9:30, I will be taking the company to Top Golf here in Tampa with all you can eat barbecue and drinks and everything.
Hmm.
But they got plenty of TVs there.
They do.
So that's where I'll be tomorrow. What about you?
I haven't decided yet, but I will say that fantastic longtime friend of the program, Fishweir Brewing Company in Jacksonville, Florida, is having a watch party tomorrow evening in the Murray Hill area. And so, if you live within a reasonable driving distance of Jacksonville, Florida, and you want to go watch the Noles play the Vols with a bunch of other Noles, Stacy and Brock are putting on a watching event tomorrow evening at Fishweir.
Will you be there, Vince? Well, if someone comes, will they see you?
I have not cleared that yet, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, maybe get. I can recommend
Tell you
that.
this: I will post. I will post on Twitter whether that's going to happen.
My favorite thing ever, Vince, is the first time, I don't know if you remember, that we met there to tour the bar to see if we could do some live shows there, which we ended up doing. You underestimate the microbrews and the different, like, local brews at your own peril, because you're used to drinking maybe a Mick Ultra or Bud Light,
Right.
and then you have a much higher
One.
percent alcohol. And
One.
then all of a sudden, Vince goes to get up and goes, "Whoa, I feel a little
Yeah.
tipsy here."
It's like I need to take it easy, because not only do we need to do a show, but I also have to play my trumpet here, because we got some alumni Chiefs that are, getting the vibe going too. Chuck Stone, you are absolutely correct about this. After painting, it should be a given that we're going there. I just haven't asked the question yet. But also keep this in mind. What else is Sunday? Father's Day.
Mhm.
So we probably have the green light for that. We just haven't cleared it up that that's what we're going to do Friday night.
With all of you watching, real quick, I just want to say, if you would like to become a Garnet and Old YouTube member, I would appreciate you hitting the join button and supporting us. Uh, it would mean the world to us. It helps us support the show, helps us put on our live shows. And specifically, Vince, this coming season, we are going to do live shows at Fishweir Brewing Company in Jacksonville, excuse me. And we're
At
going to
least
do
one, maybe two.
plenty of live shows in Tallahassee. So we got a lot going on, and we're going to be posting all of these for all of you guys to join us at these different events. So um, if you're a YouTube member, though, there might be some additional opportunities that are specific to you being a member. So join today on YouTube. Hit the join button and pick your membership. At the very least, even if you don't want to pay with your wallets, you can pay us with a like and subscribe, and that we would appreciate that too.
Yeah, would like to see the likes go up, and grab the link and share it on your social media accounts right now. We still have about a half an hour to go here. And Ryan, since I'm feeling really vibrant right now, let's give away 5 memberships right now.
First come, first serve, guys, for you to grab. Vince is going to give it away because we love you guys. That's why we're doing it. So what's going to happen is when Vince gives these away, and whoever grabs them first come, first serve, it's a free 30-day membership to the Garnet Old Show YouTube channel and all of our benefits. If you want to keep it, you can choose to, but at the end of the 30 days, if not, and you don't want to, that's all good. But we want to give you at least 30 days free, and Vince is going to cue that up here in just a second.
Right now. There it is.
Boom.
So grab those. There's 5 to grab, and you can have one free month of membership to Garnet Old. Ryan and I did not get around to doing a members only video this past weekend because, as I mentioned, I was painting until I was pretty much decrepit. And then we'll get one done this weekend.
Yeah, we will. Now, Vince, for all of them who are not a member, just give us a like and subscribe. I would appreciate that. Vince, one last thing when it comes to excitement level for the baseball game coming up this weekend. What is your prediction? Game 1. What do you got?
Oh man,
that's a toughie.
It's hard to it's hard to predict baseball, right?
It sure is. Yep.
James Tibbs really came into his own. He was kind of struggling there a little bit, and then all of a sudden, owned the day single-handedly almost. And Jamie Arnold, according to Link, is looking great for tomorrow night. Tennessee can hit, man. They can score runs. But I do have a good feeling that we're going to win tomorrow night.
I do too, Vince. I think it will be a high-scoring affair both ways. So I don't think we're going to see a run roll situation with this team Florida State's playing. I mean, I just don't see it. I think it's going to be a pretty close series, which I'm excited for and I welcome, because that's what the College World Series should be all about. Vince, how are you feeling? Do you think we'll get 5 runs, 10 runs?
Yeah, I think we'll be north of 8. I think we'll be north of 8 runs. And so, it's kind of tough to say because Nick asked, what's the race to in terms of the score? Man, it's really hard to know because of how well the Vols score as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think if we get, I could say if we get to 11 runs, but man, they could easily get there too. It's almost like strength against strength there.
It sure is. Now, Vince, are you ready for some recruiting talk? That's my question. You want to switch gears?
Yeah, for sure. We still have some gifts left, by the way, if you're willing, if you want to go grab one of the memberships. There's some still left there.
Vince, I want to announce to everyone, we used to have a sound I randomly passed by without passing by Vince, and it used to, be a very interesting sound when we would get a new member. But I wanted to have a little bit of fun. I think I'll mix it up every now and again, just throw something new in. But for now, Vince, whenever you have a new YouTube member join the Garnet Old show, this is what you're going to hear.
Where's the loyalty to the program, Jimbo?
Let me turn that up for those that you didn't hear.
Where's the loyalty to the program, Jimbo?
The famous quote. We'll throw it back.
Loyalty? Where's the loyalty? And if you're a member, you're loyal to the program. You're loyal to this program.
Yep,
so you will not we will not pull in, I can't remember that guy's name actually, but we will not pull him in to ask you where your loyalty is. We will not do that.
What a great moment back in time. One of these days, Vince, I want to do a greatest down memory lane. Maybe we'll do it for one of our member shows, a best of Jimbo memories, just for old time's sake, just for things he would say or do. That would be fun.
Yeah, that would be fun. It's been, the whole Jimbo thing has been beaten to death quite a bit. So we'll see.
Maybe we'll do
Ryan, recruiting, best of Willie. There'll be a kind of a short show.
Make sure you hydrate for it.
Yes. Last weekend was great. We had Chris on last week, and he really kind of set the stage on some things that he was thinking about and who he felt good about and everything, and kind of updated our slide here a little bit to show kind of the way we feel, or the way I felt about how last weekend went. Happy faces there. And for those of you that don't know, Ladarian, his nickname is Squirrel. So that's a squirrel there. But those are the ones from last weekend that, either we we were already in good standing and didn't do anything to hurt that, or it's continuing to climb, or we've made some significant progress, and we've gotten some good feedback from those folks. And I'm not saying that the others are not, but these are the ones that you tend to hear more about in terms of the Noles making a greater impression.
Exactly.
Any thoughts
Now,
on those, Ryan?
Yeah, well, specifically, I want to talk about Josh Moore.
Yeah.
Um, Tough
For
competitors
this weekend.
for this weekend. Yeah. So Georgia and Florida are kind of our competitors there. He did take recent visits to both Miami and UF, though I don't believe Miami's seriously in the mix. I think Georgia and Florida are both our primary competitors when it comes to his talents. But uh, listen, he's, I would say, our top prospect on the wide receiver wish list. That's actually a reasonable get for us, and I think he would fit well overall into the offense. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. I would really like to see that recruitment kind of trend towards us and away from Georgia and Florida.
Yeah, that whole list for this weekend, Justice Terry, Khalik, Lockett, Jordan Young, all of them. I'm not going to read them off, but this weekend is not stocked full of people or recruits that are, where Florida State is in great standing.
Yeah,
with these folks.
Yeah, one
So
thing I do want to say with Ed's comment here, Ed writes, "I would like to see us get Lockett." I know he mentioned some other players there. Lockett specifically, Vince. I have a hard time getting my feelings up about this one because he's from the state of Texas, Vince, and both A&M and Texas are in on the kid and high on his recruitment board. And I've seen just too many times where the kid ends up staying home, and you got two of the biggest schools in state kind of pulling that. So I actually think. Not that it's impossible. I'm not going to say that, but I do think it's a little bit more of a long shot. I think you do have a better shot, honestly, to get. And he mentions it here to get Jordan Young, who's a fantastic DB. I think he's got good measurables. I think he's got good overall talent. To watch some of his highlight tapes, and I think we're firmly in the mix for that guy. But I just don't have Lockett as a likely prospect.
Yeah. And, as far as that's concerned, wide receivers are, I don't want to call them a dime a dozen because there are certain, if you get one that's otherworldly, it can really make a difference. But it's rare that you get a wide receiver that you could consider to be otherworldly, right? It doesn't happen very often. So I'm perfectly content with wide receivers that there's just more of them to go around, I guess is the best way I can put it.
Yeah, and when we come to Randy Sale, for those of you who haven't been following his recruitment, it's kind of interesting because he was a pretty hard commit to Washington, but then of course they lose their coach. He goes to Alabama as the new head coach there. And so I assumed, Vince, when that happened, because he did decommitted from Washington at that point, my assumption was he would stay either with Washington, whoever the new head coach was, or he would stay, nearby in that general area. But apparently Florida State has made pretty good inroads on his recruitment. And I think we're also, at least mildly in the mix there, if not a serious contender. Definitely a better chance there than I believe Lockett or Young.
Yeah, for sure. So that's this weekend, and these are the official visits for this weekend. I don't know if there's any. You never know when other folks might show up, but just don't. I guess one of the things to bring up is because of what we talked about last week, and if you haven't watched last week's show, you should go back and watch it because Chris Frazier, made it a point to basically say, there's a lot of good news coming. I'm paraphrasing. There's a lot of good news coming, but it's coming. It's not going to necessarily happen like this weekend, right? So the old days of, having a big recruiting weekend and finding out who committed, um, this stuff is more mapped out, right? It's more marketed and it's more, what's the word?
Advertised and
It's
structured,
more
scheduled.
in structure, right? And scheduled and things like that. So whatever good news happened last weekend, and I think there was some good news that happened last weekend. We're probably not going to hear about that until this structured delivery of good news is going to start to happen toward the end of the month and into the month of July.
Yeah, and in general, I mean, you guys heard Chris. I think I'm not going to give away the keys to the kingdom, but go listen to last week's show, particularly the
Yeah.
last like 20 minutes. Chris kind of get from Spirotics, give kind of a deep dive on expectations for the month of late June, early July, and there's more to be excited about than even recruiting. But go back and watch that show, hear it from Chris's mouth directly. I don't want to misquote or give any kind of I guess misdirection or anything. Go back and listen to last week's show if you want to hear that. Also, listen to Spirotics tonight live at 8:00 after we're done here. So, but it could be a very, very interesting, exciting, and amazing June and July if things go the way we hope.
Yeah, I think in the next 30 to 45 days, much will be made available and known. And I had there's a particular personality on X that's heavily involved with the comings and goings of teams to different conferences and things like that. And there was something that he had posted, and I had replied to it that some really interesting information was delivered by Chris last week on our show.
Yeah.
And so if you're interested in that kind of thing, which I think most of us are at this point, I mean, why else would you be listening to Garnet and Old in the middle of June, right? I think we're about to get lots of news, and it's not all about recruiting.
Yeah, enough said. And again, please watch Spirotics tonight at 8:00. Nick, we agree. It is interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't want, and I'm not trying to be cryptic about it. It's better to hear it from Chris than for me to paraphrase what he said, right?
Yeah.
So, so go check out last week's show if you haven't already. It's in the last half of the show.
Vince, one thing I kind of want to turn the topic a little bit away from recruiting and see where your head's at. And this is kind of a out of nowhere topic. You love when I do this, Vince. Where's your head at? You're 3 months away from being in Ireland. Where are you at right now? Where's your mentality? The trip, the game. Is it even in your purview yet? Are you getting excited yet? Like, I know there's kind of different emotions to this.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I'm absolutely thinking about it because, not just for my own sake, but for the fact that I saw, a random post from Kirk the Clown out of nowhere yesterday showing a picture of his dog, which made me think about it again. So yes, it's coming up very quickly. And we are, we have all of our, hotels set. We got the flights set. We've got the tours we're going to go on, right? And this next thing that we're going to talk about right now is for those of you that are going to be in Dublin, Doug Rohan has put together a coordinated Nole fan effort to have a unified, well-run, structured delivery of fandom as it pertains to ESPN and college game day. So I will make sure to put that link in the chat here before the end of the show, because what you need to do if you're going to be involved in that, if you want to be involved in that, is go register, because he's already posted some detail about what's going to happen there. And so I'm excited about that too.
Yep. If you are interested in being a part of a well-organized and I would say non-aggressive and not crossing the line group of people to, let's say, counter program against ESPN in protest, but not pushing it too far. And so you want to make sure you're in a group of people that aren't pushing it to push too far. That this is going to be your time.
Yeah, think about it this way. It's one of those things where if you were going to be involved in something, you would not be ashamed that your grandmother knew about it.
Yeah.
So it won't be vulgar. It won't be offensive. It'll be strong and coordinated, and it'll be very obvious. But it won't be anything that your family will hide in shame because they catch you on somebody's TikTok.
Yeah. Vince, I want you to pull a Greta Thunberg and be like, "How dare you?" and point at Kirk Herbstreit. That's what I want you to do.
I will do that. And back to Dublin, PG-13. Yes, Nick Snyder will be PG-13. Exactly right.
Mm-hmm.
We're also going to be doing some live shows from Dublin. We don't have the schedule yet for that, but as soon as we get closer, we'll have a schedule of those things. Because I know that I'm very fortunate to be able to go. And I know a lot of Nole fans wish that they could be there. So my intent is to try and get you to feel like, if you're not there, get you to feel like you're there a little bit. That's my intent, to give you a little bit of taste of it. Not just about the game, about walking around and going into a pub. I want to have that and be able to offer that up, because I know if we all had the ability, we would all be there, right? And I know that we can't. So.
And good news for Vince and all of you is that because I am not going, I'm able to produce all of this. Which, if you've ever had to do any kind of remote anything, like on the ground and try to live stream or schedule shows or anything like that, if you've ever been involved in anything like that, it is way easier if you have a man behind the curtain sitting somewhere in their normal location in office, kind of running everything and then just providing you the links to join. It's a lot easier to do that. I see myself in. Are you a fan of the Mission Impossible movies, Vince?
Oh, absolutely.
I see myself as Benji, the guy at the computer, telling you, here, hey, here's what to do. Here's what I'm looking at, that kind of thing. So I'll be your Benji.
Yes, when you're directing me, right?
Yeah.
You also have to make sure you're not just giving me X and Y. You also have to give me Z axis as well. I need to know if I'm 20 feet up from where I should be or whatever. So if you've seen the Mission Impossible movies, you know what I'm referring to there.
Now we're going to do a call-in segment. This part's optional. If you guys want to call in, there's the number. When you call in and you get brought on the air, mute the show that you're watching. So like mute the YouTube video while you talk to Vince. He'll be the only one that can. We'll be able to hear you, and Vince can hear you and talk to you, but I will not be able to talk back to you. So you kind of deliver your message or ask your question, and then go ahead and hang up, and then you can continue to unmute your YouTube video. What I want to ask for, I'm going to kind of fish for something a little bit. Pick up your phones and call that number to call in live here to Garnet Old Show and give me your best idea for how we can, I'm going to say peacefully protest, PG-13 protest, ESPN. What are your ideas? What should we be doing? What do you think is a fun way to do that? Call in right now, and if we see you calling in, Vince will bring you live on the Garnet Old Show to give your idea, or you can ask a question about anything we've talked about tonight, give your opinions. That's what it's there for, totally optional. Not just for YouTube members, but for everyone. Call in. Vince, you're muted again.
Sorry, I'm taking a drink, and the last time I did this, I could hear myself swallow, and I didn't want to get that in there. But Brett Taylor has a great question here, and we didn't plan to talk about this tonight. But yeah, there was some news that came out today about naming rights for the conferences. Right? Are we getting ready for SEC, ESPN conference, and Big Fox conference? I mean, maybe. The Big 12 is apparently in negotiations with Allstate
Yeah.
to become the all-state Big 12 conference.
Which I can't wait
And
to hear. Big 12, are you in good hands?
are you in good hands? And then I was watching Greg Flugar's show earlier today. If you don't watch his show, you should. He's really great. But someone had commented that they're missing a great opportunity to get a deal done with an airline because the Big 12 was known for so long as the flyover conference.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that would be real funny. But as far as naming the conferences, I mean, here you go. There's money out there to be had for that, right? The Big 12 is on top of it because their commissioner is
Yeah.
trying to make more money for their teams. Where is Jim Phillips?
Nowhere. I hope to hear about the Pac-12 being called the Solo Cup, represents them or something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
That would be great.
Hold on, let's do this, Vince. Give me some names. Give me some fun. Who would be the naming rights to the ACC as it currently stands? Let's think of some fun companies here. I'm going to say Dollar General. The
Dollar
ACC
General,
conference.
sure. Yeah. Krispy Kreme, because the first Krispy Kreme was opened in Wake Forest, actually. Winston-Salem.
Scratch and Dent
Krispy
World.
Kreme, sure. Tack glasses.
Oh, that would be a perfect one. Yeah.
Tack glasses, and what's the good tape that they use to fix the boat?
Flex Seal.
Flex Seal. The Flex Seal ACC conference brought to you by Tack Glasses.
Yeah, that has a ring to it. I think we should go with that. I also like just thinking to myself, Vince, if we started naming it after like multiple companies, like you said, just roll it down. Like, you have the Dollar General, Tech Glasses, Flex Tape, and because they have to bundle a bunch together to get the same return on investment.
Right. And the beauty of that is that if you get those companies that we all know because we see the commercials on the network, then we get the benefit then of watching those same commercials live in the stadiums too. So not only do you have to learn about Tack Glasses at home on the TV, but you also get to enjoy those commercials when you're at the stadium too. Blockbuster, they have Bed Bath and Beyond. This is perfect.
I'm going to go through it. So I'm going to bring
them
up.
Yeah.
And I believe that all of these would be brought to you exclusively on an AM radio station. Sears.
Sure.
Edsel Conference, yeah. Bed Bath and Beyond, that's a good one. Blockbuster. GameStop. All good options. All good options.
Think about a business that kind of had it going for a while and then missed the opportunity, whatever it was, and then just totally went down the tubes. You need something that kind of aligns. Yeah, for sure. Blockbuster's probably the one, right? Because Blockbuster had kind of the world by the you-know-whats for a while, and they decided that streaming movies wasn't the way they should go.
Boeing.
And now look at them.
We blow the doors off the competition.
Boeing.
Yeah. Oh my God.
The CW. Yeah. The CW conference.
The CW conference would pretty much represent it perfectly. Maybe how about MTV? Or JetBlue would be a good one. Yeah, just some random ones. One thing I thought of, what about Circuit City presents the ACC conference on Raycom Sports provided by Tech Glasses?
Yes. There's a bunch of different ways we can go. And by the way, in the chat right now, hop onto social media and start offering these up on social, not just in the comments. I think we'll get a lot of good stuff there. Radio Shack. Ooh, think about the Red Lobster, though, people. Those biscuits were fantastic, were they not?
Oh, I love
cheddar
them.
biscuits.
Oh yeah, for sure. Vince, this brings me to a good point. Out of nowhere, Kristen watches TikTok recipe channels a lot,
Mm.
And she, the other day, I came home, Vince, she had already left for work, and I saw 2 boxes unopened of Red Lobster cheddar biscuits.
Mm.
And I said, "What are we doing here?" She never buys something like this. So the next day I asked her, "What do we got going on here?" Vince, she ended up making a cheddar biscuit crust pot pie. How can you go
And,
wrong?
and you didn't even have to paint all weekend to get that.
And I didn't have to go to Red Lobster, even more importantly.
Yes, because there's nothing worse than going to Red Lobster when you live in Florida and there's abundance of fresh seafood all around you.
Can
But
I also say, Vince, the chicken that went in the pot pie, I know you have a Costco membership, right?
I do not.
For those of you in the chat who have a Costco membership, can we just give a thank you, God bless America to Costco rotisserie chicken? It's $5, Vince, and you would think that it was pumped probably with more antibiotics than you've ever seen in your life because it's twice the size of a Publix rotisserie for
Right.
for $5. And let me tell you what, every single time I've microwaved it the day after, Vince, and it's still juicy. They're doing something to that chicken, and I don't care.
And you
I
don't care what it
it
is. No, you
No.
don't care what it is. Looks like we're not getting too many calls tonight, which is fine.
We're getting a lot of
And
good comments, though.
we are getting some good comments. June is what it is. But I want to mention something else as we're kind of rolling out the show here and kind of wrapping it up. We were not sure whether Doug was going to be able to join the show tonight. It was kind of he wasn't, then maybe he was, and then possibly he was not going. So he is going to be going on hiatus a little bit and get away from the real world for a little while. But he wanted me to make sure that I promoted the Dublin thing, which I've already done. But also, if you live within reasonable driving distance of Atlanta, on June 29th, we are doing a Seminole meetup at Scofflaw Brewing in Atlanta. Doug will be there. I'll be there. My wife Shannon will be there. There'll be a lot of Noles there. So if you live within driving distance of that, we would love to see any of you there and as many of you there as can get there. That's June 29th, Scofflaw Brewing.
Out of nowhere, Vince. I'm just kidding, guys. Just kidding. I had to do it. I'm sorry. I was trying to play on the you were telling everyone it's not going to happen and then get everyone up, and then I'm sorry. I had to do it. It's a good joke, though, right? Come on.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking down in the studio here to see if he was on, and he wasn't on. So I
You know what
figured
this
you were.
reminds me of if you grew up watching wrestling in the 80s or 90s, where they're in the ring and they're beating down, and someone's music hits, and the guy turns towards the stage, and it keeps playing, but they
Or the
don't end up
ramp,
coming
yeah.
out.
Yeah.
And then the guy behind him rolls them up for the pin. And so just the entrance music alone was enough to turn the whole thing on its head. That's what that was right there. I hope.
No, that was good. That was good. You kind of threw me off there a little bit, but
You were like, Doug's here. What do we do?
Doug will be off grid, really,
Yeah.
pretty much. So I don't anticipate him being here next week either. And so I'm trying to pump this meetup for him while he's off the grid. So keep that in mind. June 29th, Scofflaw.
Absolutely. And I do want to let everyone know that I'm sorry for getting you all excited. I couldn't help it. I don't know what came over me. Gotta have fun sometimes after a long day at work, Vince. All right. What's your plan this weekend, Vince? Are you now I'm hearing, if I remember correctly from last time, did they release all of the House of the Dragon episodes, or did they release them one weekend at a time or something? I'm pretty sure it was one weekend at a time, was it not?
I think we had to wait like the old days.
Which I prefer, even though at first shows that release, hey, here's everything on the season, I think I prefer that. But then when I'm done, I'm like, well, now I'm done, and I have like a year and a half to the next season. At least the once a week schedule kind of keeps you going in the right direction. But we have a bunch of stuff coming up, Vince. We got We got House of the Dragon. We got EA Sports College Football coming out next month. We got Wolverine and Deadpool movie coming out next month. And then we also, if you're a fan of Tolkien, we also have the season 2 of Rings of Power coming out next month.
That's a lot. I still have other stuff I got to watch, but House of the Dragon and Lost is kind of where I have to focus my time. Ryan, before we wrap this up, let's remind people what we're trying to do here.
It's getting down to it, guys. If you want this to
It
happen,
really is.
if you want a free console, Xbox or PS5, and a copy of College Football 25, you have to subscribe to the channel, and we got to get to 2,000 views. 2,000 not views, no, 2,000 subs before the release of the game, and we'll give away a console of your choice and a copy of the game. And by the way, before the game comes out, and I promise by the end of the month, for the 2 that won the copy of the game, you will get your gift cards to your email by the end of the month, as promised. But yeah, please help us get to 2,000 subscribers. We would even if we don't make it, we appreciate the effort, but we hope that we do.
For sure. Yeah, and I am an optimistic person. Right now, we're sitting at about 1,135.
Right.
And so you're like, it's impossible to get to 2,000 in the next month, in the next 31 days. Nothing is impossible. Nothing is impossible for the fandom. It's just not. It's just not. All it takes is for Ryan and I to continue to hopefully put out some good stuff. And for those of you that like the show, to drag people along, kicking and screaming, at least to give it a try. So,
and if you don't think it's possible,
Where's the loyalty to the program, Jimbo?
exactly.
That's what I have.
Yeah. So we are trying to do that, and we're steadily climbing. We're going to need a big surge between now and July 19th, which is the day the game is coming.
Here's
out.
what's fun though, Vince. You guys know, and everyone who covers FSU knows, that's for sure. As you get closer to the season, especially like leading up to the first game of the season, like a couple weeks before, all the way through the season, you go as a YouTuber or a podcaster or a personality from like, oh, it's fun and we're having fun and the community loves it too. Oh my God, there's so much happening, so many views, so many new faces. So this is the time to join the channel. This is
you guys are the diehards.
Yeah.
You guys are the diehards. You guys are the foundation. If this were a pyramid scheme, you guys would be in on the ground floor. And Grillmaster is right here. And again, I refer people back to last week's show. If you haven't already watched it, go watch it on YouTube. If we legit leave the conference in the next month or announce something within the next roughly 35 days, and we're streaming a lot during and after it, we are. That's true. And controversy grows the momentum. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
So, but you're right about that.
We're going to wrap up tonight because we want you at 8:00 on the dot to head over to Sporadics, like Vince and I will be, to watch Sporadics show. It's fantastic. So hop on over after you're done watching this. We're going to wrap it up. Thank you guys so much for watching tonight. It's been great. As always, screw ESPN eternally. Garnet Old, no inside info, no contacts, no problem. And Vince,
send Chiefs all the damn time, because when you do, good things happen.
Go Noles, everyone. Have a good night.
Go Noles.